BioWare is one of those companies who've created a staple of achievement for themselves, with a high standard of approaching releases with a quality that rivals Blizzard Entertainment. As they create game after game, the bar for each of their releases rises in the consumer's mind. While Dragon Age Origins is a wonderful RPG, it didn't necessarily appeal to the more casual mind, which is why Dragon Age 2's focus is to appeal to everyone while still trying to be a competitive RPG. Does BioWare accomplish the grand scheme, or has the game been scaled down too much?
Take one more step and the boy dies.
This is as close as I get.
Changes. There are tons of them and I love it. Let's start with the much needed and appreciated cosmetic overhaul. Dragon Age Origins is not an ugly game, but it failed to impress at anything visually. Most of it was marred by drab coloring, detailed but lightly textured locales, and some outright disgusting armor and weapon choices. The only thing that popped was the character models themselves. Dragon Age 2 rectifies most of these issues. The city of Kirkwall is detailed in every nook and cranny. It really sells the personality of the city well, and that's a very good thing since you'll be there a lot. Which also applies to each of the lands you'll explore outside of the city. While you may be playing in linear locations, the design of each area portrays enough expansive scenery that you won't notice. Textures on the character models' faces have been scaled up greatly, while other races have undergone an overhaul completely. The elves have taken on the appearance of a more goat-like race, while the Qunari have almost become demon-like creatures, ditching the human hairstyles for horns. They are covered in an assortment of tattoos and give a much more menacing air than Sten did in Origins. The armor doesn't make you squeamish at the sight of it anymore. Even though there aren't many sets to choose from, you'll appreciate them more than those used in Origins. Zooming into a piece of armor shows off intricate detail or how as the game progresses the plate armor becomes more gaudy and oversized. While the weapons each have their own distinct skins, especially the ones that come in the Signature Edition. Another game changer comes in the form of a vastly enhanced combat system. The tempo for combat has been tuned up tenfold in Dragon Age 2. In fact, it may be a little overwhelming at first. This applies even more so to Origin players. As the combat is so action-packed and in your face, it will be hard to adjust for the first hour or so. Yet, as time passes on, the exhilarating pace will become standard and you'll wade into battle without mercy. It's a major change from Origins as it allows you to feel like a devastating monster in most battles. Finally, we have the most appealing change for the series, which is easily the voiceover that is given to the main character, Hawke. Let's face the facts here. In Origins, your character was more of an onlooker in conversations. He or she would initiate a discussion and stare blankly forward or gaze to the side as everyone else voiced their opinions. In Dragon Age 2, your choices during dialogue affect how the character Hawke expresses themselves. So if your responses are mostly sarcastic, Hawke's demeanor will change to match.
I can see why Nanette liked you. You're feisty.
The story of Hawke situates you in the seat of someone who eventually becomes a hero. However, how this man or woman becomes a hero is shaped by the player's choices. The entire story is told from the point of view of a dwarf named Varric, who only recalls the situation in whatever direction you've led Hawke into. So certain storyline elements will change how the next chapter of Hawke's life advances. In this, we notice the lowered scale of saving the world and instead watch Hawke and his companions grow through their lives. The saltiest of rivals who are forced to fight together grow older and become friends before your eyes, while the various people you've saved or outright ruined play a significant role when you meet them in the next couple of years. What you get is a story where you care more about the characters as they grow on you.
You're just too dangerous. You have to die. No. No!
While Dragon Age 2 looks better than its predecessor, it makes some odd graphical choices. Nearly all of this pertains to the way that character models are handled. This could easily be a PC-only problem, but I find these issues to be daunting at best. Let's start with the fact that each character always has something that covers their necks. When the shirts are removed, you can see that the bodies and heads don't match up well. The skin tones don't mesh, and it can be visually distracting. This applies to the mouth area of female faces. Sometimes they will look astounding, but in different lighting they will suddenly have a 5 o'clock shadow. It's disturbing, but not as bad as the way hands look. Only a mother could love a hand that looks so much like a chicken's foot. These things can of course be overlooked. but they do distract you during most scenes. You'll go to the same locales like a repeat offender returns to jail. Since Hawk has to spend about 10 years in the same city, it's pretty much a given he'll see some of the same venues. What's not to be expected is that even in different areas of Kirkwall, you'll keep running into locations that look exactly like the last place you just visited. It even starts to become a pattern on which enemies you should expect. It's a really lazy game design, and it hinders the immersion of being in such a large city. Dragon Age 2 fails at making choices where you care the most. This stems from how Hawk's family is treated throughout the game. You make so many choices saving a wider range of people, but the story of your family is on a linear path. So even though you can drastically change the roles of certain characters, you can't do anything to change the roles of your family. Now I understand why it is this way from an emotional standpoint, but it just seems odd in a game where choices are pivotal. If you have never played Dragon Age Origins, you will not understand most of the storyline. There are questions to try to catch players up to speed, but most of this stuff probably goes over new players' heads. This goes with the various cameos of people from the previous game, and even the ending itself loses impact without that knowledge. So it is highly suggested that you play the first game before hopping into part 2. Dragon Age 2 is an extremely fun RPG. It amps up combat and offers the main character a voice. However, it fails at selling the story of your character in many ways. It slips you into repetitious combat situations. Let's also face the facts that the journey compared to Origins is much less of an epic affair. The game probably clocks in about 25 to 30 hours, while Origins was easily a 60-hour game the first time through. Dragon Age 2 receives a B- for the various improvements to the gameplay systems, but Dragon Age 3 should take more time to offer a more cohesive and refined story.
Useless!